So welcome to the Cinema Dash. As always, I'm Gabbs.
And I'm DeGe.
And as you notice, I hadn't titled it the way we usually do, with the season number and the episode number. So, because today, we're doing it a little bit different. We're bringing back an old thing that we did the first season, once before. And we're doing it in the industry again.
Yeah, in the industry. We haven't done this one since early in season 1. So there's a lot of things that are going on in film and in the industry nowadays that I feel like a lot of people are like, it went from kind of not underground topics but less discussed topics, and then ever since last year these topics have been rising to mainstream popularity. For instance, in our last video we talked about the failure of the Fantastic Four movie and what that's doing to Fox and the state of superheroes and aside from Marvel and DC in different companies. And we also talked about movies that are rated R and that should be and shouldn't be rated R. So in this episode, we're gonna tackle a topic that's been very, very controversial since earlier. I want to
say maybe a month or two ago.
Yeah, maybe a month or two ago. And that is this whole Ghostbusters fiasco.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about that at the end of our last video.
Yeah, so if you watched our last video, you got a little bit of a sneak preview to our opinions and our thoughts about this whole situation that's going on. But we felt that we should make an entire video dedicated to it because I feel like we both felt that it was worth to make an entire video discussing this topic.
Because, we're just going to be joining a bunch of other people on YouTube who have already done that, but I feel like, giving our 2 cents would be a little bit different in some way. Our 2 cents. So my 2 cents and your 2 cents. So it'd be our 2 cents?
Our 4 cents.
So we're each giving 2 cents. Dude, I'm in college.
You didn't do good, man. God, I can't even speak English.
Yeah.
Never mind. All right, so
I can't do math. You can't do English.
There we go. That's it. So yeah, this whole Ghostbusters thing, and I just want to get this right off the bat that we are both not sexist, racist, homophobic.
We like women.
We're big fans of women. All right, so we just want to get that on the table right now before we start discussing this whole topic. And I feel like there is a lot to discuss about this topic where we could start really at any point. So, I guess let's start from the beginning.
Just basically just saying we're not against women in any kind of way, but if we do go on in this review or this whole video saying, oh, fuck women and everything they do, just don't take it to heart.
So yeah, what he said.
Yeah.
Let's start from the beginning. So around, I want to say maybe 2 years ago, last year, they announced that there was going to be a Ghostbusters remake.
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't like that idea, but some were for it, surprisingly. And
I think it goes even before that too, because
there were talks about a Ghostbusters 3 for a really long time, and there
were so many ideas thrown around about that.
Yeah. That
nothing ever just came up.
Yeah, and then around the time Harold Ramis died, they were just like, yeah, I don't think we're gonna do Ghostbusters 3 anymore.
And I think Angry Video Game Nerd kind of talked about that in one video, and he did a brilliant job with that too.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that Harold Ramis died. They kind of just Ghostbusters 3 is basically dead at this point.
Yeah, there's no point in doing one now that one of the original cast members is dead. So. And so they felt it necessary to reboot the series.
I think Hollywood just thinks hey, this guy's dead. He was in a good movie. Let's try to bank it off.
Yeah, exactly. Essentially, that's pretty much I think what the board meeting went like. Yeah. But in
golly gee, Jim, I sure wish we made more money. Oh, really, John? Let's. What do you got? Another idea or something? You big schmuck. Oh yeah, this Harold Ramis guy. You remember him, right? No, dude, I don't remember anything past when I was born. So maybe yesterday. We could totally make money off this movie, John. We just make another.
How many names are in this board meeting?
It's only 2, Jim and John.
Okay, fair enough.
So John, we can make a movie based on the guy that movie he was in. So you mean just make another Ghostbusters? Yeah, totally, dude. It's a great idea. We could profit off his death. It's just no one's ever thought about that before.
And I'm sure that wasn't their intention when they got in there because, Hollywood loves money.
Yeah.
But it comes to the point, it comes to the point where you have to really figure out what series to reboot and what not to reboot. Because when you're talking about Ghostbusters, everybody who was against that, their main argument was that the series didn't need to be rebooted. It held up already, it held up wonderfully for its time. it still does hold up. It still does hold up wonderfully.
Yeah,
and it's considered one of the greatest comedies ever made. That's like saying, "Hey guys, let's remake Airplane." You can't remake the greatest comedy of all time because it's you just can't do it. The jokes wouldn't hold up. The jokes hold up today, but like in the remake, the jokes wouldn't have that same punch as they did back in the 70s when that type of humor was just revolutionary for its time.
I think Airplane's the greatest comedy ever made.
A lot of people, I don't personally think so, but a lot of people say that Airplane is the greatest comedy of all time.
I think it's like I think it's more of also a spoof on anything.
A spoof is still a comedy.
I know, but like,
I'm just going off what many publications have said. Many publications have said, but in all honesty, like, you have to figure out what movies to reboot and what not to reboot.
I mean, like with Airplane though, you got like I remember watching that as a kid, and then I just see like a random pair of pitches kind of like come on screen and just leave. I'm like, what the hell?
I was like, oh, all right, there we go.
I mean, like. For me, it was funny just because like I didn't know why they would put that in there.
Yeah.
But this is like more or less like a thing that like today I would feel like, oh, there's tits. Who cares? Next thing.
Yeah. And then like, and that was the main argument amongst the people who were against this reboot. And then so this reboot is now here. It's churning. Ideas are coming out and stuff like that. Then they announced that Paul Feig was going to direct it, and I have really a love-hate relationship with Paul Feig. I thought Bridesmaids he's done Bridesmaids, he's done Spy, he did Freaks and Geeks back in the 90s. He's done a lot of really good comedies.
So Freaks and Geeks is really the only good thing he's made then.
But Spy was good. I personally thought Spy was good.
I mean,
have you seen Spy?
No, but I just know it's another Melissa McCarthy movie.
But like the thing is though, like in Melissa McCarthy movies, when she's in R-rated comedies, I think she's better than when she's in like PG or PG-13 comedies. Because, like, there's a stark difference between the writing and her performance. Because you could tell that she phones in performances when it's, like, a PG-13 or a PG movie. And then in R-rated performances, she does much better. But that's a conversation for an entirely new video. Whatever. So, Paul Feig is the director of this movie now. And he's done Bridesmaids, Spy, and Freaks and Geeks and stuff like that. Amongst his most notable ones. And I think he's also directed a couple episodes of my favorite show, Arrested Development. So, he also did some episodes of The Office, too. So, all in all, he's had this very wide, expansive career in comedy. Mm-hmm. And when you look at it, Paul Feig would be a solid choice for directing this movie because he knows what he's doing. He's got a lot of comedy chops. He's a pretty good writer. And in all of his other movies, he's worked out some great performances from his cast. So, we were like, oh, okay. So, imagine this guy working with Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and who was the other guy? It was Harold Ramis and who was
Black guy?
Yeah, what was his name? I forgot his name.
Ernie something? Or that wasn't his name in the movie.
I don't remember what his name was. It's slipping my mind right now.
Let's try to look it up.
Yeah, let's probably look it up. That'd probably help for the rest of the video.
More behind the scenes
video.
So while DeGe types in the computer, or on his keyboard rather, I'm gonna just talk to you guys. So what's going on? You guys have a good day so far? Sure about the H3H3 thing? Yeah, it was ridiculous, man.
Like, all right, I want to talk about that for a quick second because that is completely not okay.
We'll wait for that one later in the video. But like, just I mean, come on, man. Like, why are you looking at the 2016 one?
1 minute, please.
There you go.
All right.
There you go. Here we go.
It is. Well, that doesn't tell me anything.
Oh, that's good. You go to Ernie Hudson.
Ernie Hudson. That's
I knew it.
Right. Okay. So yeah, as I was saying before, like Paul Feig working with Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, excuse me, and Ernie Hudson. Like that's a really good combination when you put that on paper and you look at it. That's like a really good. Well, obviously, but this is back when Harold Ramis was still alive. He was announced to direct it. But when you look at this cast and this director working together, it has potential to be a very good movie. The Ghostbusters 3 that we've all been looking for. But instead they decided to again reboot the franchise, and then they made another controversial decision to cast all women in this role. Now, disclaimer.
We said that already, but like,
yeah,
I would totally welcome that because I feel like it's been coming.
No, yeah, but like, yeah, like I was saying before, like I'm totally cool with that, with the Ghostbusters being women. In fact, I think it's a welcome change, like to have all of these strong characters that are women be presented as funny characters.
I just more or less saw it coming, and like oh, they're all dudes. So one's like the whole like there's gotta be like a female one, and then there's gotta be a whole like a black one and an Asian one and the blah blah blah. So it appeals to all different audiences and everything.
Yeah, and especially now today with all these SJWs and all this fight for equality and stuff like that, it's really a good thing to see women be Ghostbusters. And again, I was cool with them being cast as women. I was a little iffy on the casting choices. I generally do not like Melissa McCarthy.
I think when it first came out, they didn't reveal who it was. That's my phone. I just knew that it was just gonna be women. That's all. Right. And then I think later on it came down the road we're
and then they started announcing.
We're released one at a time. I think.
Yeah.
I think the first one was Kristen Wiig too.
Yeah. And the thing is with Paul Feig is that he generally tends to work with the same people on every single movie. If you look at his filmography, you'll see that he's worked with Kristen Wiig on multiple occasions. He's worked with Melissa McCarthy on multiple occasions, most recently on multiple occasions. I think he's worked with Kate McKinnon, and I'm not sure about the African American woman. I do not know her name either, actually.
Well, we're just racist, aren't we?
A little bit. Her name is Leslie Jones. And I know, and I think he's done a couple episodes of Saturday Night Live as well. So if he did, he's worked with Kate McKinnon and Leslie Jones. But the thing is, with these being all women, it really tends to bring out the worst in people because they start becoming sexist and stuff like that. And there was a lot of negative press coming towards the movie. So I kept pretty neutral in the situation. I know you voiced your opinion that you didn't like it, and I was like, okay, whatever. So
yeah, I said multiple times I just don't find any of these women at all funny.
And I only found Kate McKinnon to be genuinely funny because I watched Saturday Night Live, and I don't really find Leslie Jones that funny. And I appreciate Kristen Wiig. I don't really like her type of humor, but I think she's a great actress. And more dramatic stuff she's done, and Melissa McCarthy I just never really liked in general because I always felt that she was just a bunch of unfunny, self-deprecating humor. It just wasn't for me, I think.
What I think is the whole that what they each fall down under in the categories is Leslie Jones is another loud black comedian. I can look at Kevin Hart for that. I can look at Chris Rock for that. I can even look at who's the guy in Rush Hour? The black guy in Rush Hour.
Chris Tucker.
Yeah, I can also look at him. Those are just a few, like I said.
Right.
But she falls under that category where I've seen it before. There's nothing new here except you're a woman. Mm-hmm. Then you get Melissa McCarthy, who is literally the same person in every movie she's in. She tries to be funny because she's fat, and I've seen it before with a bunch of other guys and girls who have tried to do that before, and it's just not funny anymore. The card's been played too often now. Where just she does nothing to contribute to that joke.
She doesn't further the genre of comedy as a whole. She's just another comedian that's thrown within the stockpile of just these comedians who portray the same character, have the same humor in every single thing they do. They're doing nothing to forward the genre of comedy movies and comedy in general. So
same thing with Leslie Jones as well.
I just don't find them funny. You could see her as being a revelation for African American women and comedians in general, which is I'm totally cool with. But her humor just doesn't work for me. Again, comedy is very subjective, and it all depends on what you find funny. For instance, I could find some dude shitting on the floor hilarious, and you could find some really well thought out, well written joke funny as well, and I wouldn't find that funny. Everything in comedy is subjective.
He called that guy shit, and then he shit on the floor. That's why it's funny.
Yeah, something like that. Again, it's very, very subjective. Everybody has different tastes and stuff like that, and it also works for drama, fiction, sci-fi. Everybody has different tastes, like Star Wars and Star Trek. Everybody has different tastes among every single genre, and comedy is no different. Everything is subjective. But when you throw these comedians in that don't appeal to that appeal to a wide audience but don't appeal to a very niche audience, it doesn't really matter, which is why I guess they casted these women in these roles. So I reserved my judgment until I would see a trailer or some screens of the film, and then I saw some screenshots, and I was like, okay, the suits look pretty good, the proton packs look pretty good. I'm digging these character designs. But then the trailer came out.
They look the same.
They do exactly. They look the same, and I love the original design of the 1984 Ghostbusters.
I know, but they gotta make it different in some way. But they just looked like they pulled the same costume out.
Yeah,
and just made a couple changes so it fit better for women.
Well, yeah, I mean, the women aren't gonna fit into a men's Ghostbusters outfit.
It's gonna be baggy or something.
It's gonna be baggy. Yeah. So whatever. But
and then,
we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
But like the thing was that all of this hate, all of this just absolute disdain towards this new remake in general, these cast members, these costumes, everything in general, all culminated into the trailer.
Yeah.
And so the first trailer came out how long? About a month ago? About 2 months ago?
About a month ago. And,
around there?
Yeah, and just all the just like you said, all the pessimism just came right from that. Like it was pretty evident that it was right there.
Yeah.
It was just right in there in that comment section. You can actually just feel the hatred before clicking on the video.
Exactly.
Like,
and like,
oh, I'm gonna watch this.
And the interesting thing is like the cast and crew kept mostly silent about all of the negative backlash towards like the remake and like everything. Excuse me. But then when the trailer came out, that's when everybody started speaking up. That's when Melissa McCarthy spoke up. That's when the director spoke up on multiple occasions. Paul Feig spoke up on a lot of occasions. Melissa McCarthy, Paul Feig. I think Kristen Wiig and Kate McKinnon had some stuff to say. Don't quote me on that. I do not know about that. But I just know that some of the big name people in this movie did say some things regarding the negative backlash. And they were just like, wait till you see the movie. And then Paul Feig was really aggressive when he was just like, yeah, geek culture is some of the worst pieces of shit on the face of the planet.
I'll do it.
And I'm like, oh, well, that is certainly the wrong thing to say to your fan base. There's certainly
to whatever remaining fan base you have.
Exactly. That is certainly the wrong thing to say. And discussing the trailer, when we saw it, again, had nothing to do with the fact that they were women, had nothing to do with their personalities, their characters, or anything. It's just the trailer looked awful.
It looked terrible.
It was god awful. It had so many tonal issues. We had no idea whether this was going to be a horror comedy. What was going on? There was so many. It was edited poorly. It showed the most generic lines of dialogue from all of the characters. It was unfunny in general. The effects looked like something out of a direct to DVD kids animated feature. It just a lot of things that were wrong with it. Now I won't hold it against the visual effects people, because as subsequent trailers come out, visual effects do improve. Let's take Guardians of the Galaxy for instance. In the first Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, there's a scene where Star-Lord is jumping off of a cliff in the beginning of the movie. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Where he's like jumping off a cliff? Yeah. So in that scene, there was almost nothing around him. It was just like a barren wasteland. There was like some rock formations, and there was nothing. Then the second trailer comes out. These rock formations are widely detailed. There's explosions happening behind him. There's lasers flinging by him. It was a very noticeable change from trailer 1 to trailer 2. But in Ghostbusters case, it's coming out in when? Next month?
I think sometime in July.
Sometime June or July, around there?
I think July.
Let's check that.
I think mid-July. I guess July 15th.
July 15th.
July
15th. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, on the dot.
So like it's the end of May now, and the second trailer gets released. And there is literally no difference between the visual effects in the trailer that came out in March or April, around there, to now, where it's May. You would think there would be some kind of change, maybe some improvement, maybe some more sheen over the ghosts and stuff like that. But nothing. It still looks like a direct to DVD kids animated feature. And the budget of this movie is $154 million. You would think they would pump some more money into the visual effects and not to the actors' salaries, because there's a lot of A-list people in this movie. There's Chris Hemsworth, there's Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig. There's a lot of household names in this film. And I have a feeling, and from the way I'm looking at it, it feels like most of the money was directed to their salaries so that they would sign on for this movie. Or and to also pay the director, the producers, and the writers, because the visual effects do not look good whatsoever.
Yeah, just the one thing I don't understand about this whole just the animation and everything, the CGI and whatnot, is the whole idea of making the ghost neon blue.
I don't get that either.
It just kind of defeats the purpose of the ghost being spooky. Because now they just look like they swallowed a bunch of glow sticks. And, it just doesn't, if I see something bright and blue, I'm not going to get startled by it. I'm gonna like it's very noticeable. Like
Yeah.
that's not gonna be scary at all.
Yeah.
And like when I look at them, they're not scary. They're like people that just threw on makeup and just like. And I totally get that's probably like what some of them did, if that's the case. But like, it just doesn't look scary. And more importantly, it looks like they just ripped from the first movie and just threw it into like a new into this one.
Yeah.
Like they just moved the water from a bucket into the same bucket. Only
and the thing was like the original Ghostbusters practical effects were fantastic. There was actually recently a Reddit post or a Reddit thread, and I'll probably link it into the description later. But there was recently a Reddit thread that was discussing that showed a comparison of the practical effects of the old movie to the new movie, and the effects in the old movie look startlingly better than they do in this movie.
Well, you also like for what Ghostbusters, the old one, the first one,
right?
The first good one was that
the good one.
Yeah, the probably good one. I'll say because I'm gonna have some benefit of the doubt. Is that for what it is, like a 1985 movie.
1984.
1984. A movie from 1984 has better just practical effects and everything than most movies do now. Says something about it. Ghostbusters is a great film in that sense. It's great. It's a great overall film.
Yes.
And so is Ghostbusters 2. Granted, I've heard that people don't like Ghostbusters 2, but it's very good.
Yeah, I recently watched the Good Bad Flicks video about it, and then I watched the movie itself. It's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
It holds up. It definitely nowhere near the first one, but I still think it holds up pretty well as a sequel.
Well, Ghostbusters 1 is just like we said.
Ghostbusters 1 is top tier. It's one of the greatest comedies ever made.
Just hands down one of the best comedies ever made.
Yeah.
And then trying to do something off of that is hard to do.
Definitely, because you set a precedent so high for yourself. You set a bar so high that you have to somehow better it. And usually you can't. Unless you're The Godfather, whereas The Godfather 1 is one of the greatest movies ever made, and The Godfather 2
is probably
barely topped it as one of the best movies ever made.
It's probably the best sequel to a movie ever made.
Hands down, one of the best sequels to a movie ever made, besides Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back
and Dark Knight.
And it's very rare that you create a sequel based on an original source that's so beloved to equal and or more critical acclaim. It's a very, very rare situation. But with Ghostbusters 2 situation, it didn't surpass its original, but it's still, I feel, held up as a good sequel
it's
to the movie.
It's still a watchable movie. It's something
definitely.
You should recommend to other people.
I would definitely recommend
it.
And
it still holds up, so there's nothing to complain about.
No,
but
not at all.
If you're, like you said, and like you're saying right now, they compared it to this, and it just doesn't compare. It's the original Ghostbusters is far better, superior in that category, and the movie's not even out yet. How
exactly?
That you can't have that happen. It's because it's just already an utter failure at that point.
Exactly, and this movie, I feel like it is projected to bomb. I feel like it's a projected box office bomb.
You shouldn't feel that. It should just be a granted. It's going to bomb.
It's going to bomb.
The only reason why I think it wouldn't bomb is because people think it's such a terrible movie that people have to go see it, which is already a stupid thing. Because if a movie's already not going to be good, and you know it's not going to be any good, and there's going to be and you're gonna see the movie anyway. Why are you wasting your money? Why are you
giving them your money?
Why are you wasting $11 worth of movie ticket money to in a way support this movie? Because the more money it makes, the more it has to be a good film and it makes so much money. And when that happens, you get a sequel out of it. And if you get a sequel out of shit, then you don't want about a even shittier sequel. You know what I mean? So just don't see it. You and I are not going to see this for the channel, regardless.
We had a discussion about this, so I'm sorry if you were looking for a review of Ghostbusters. If anything,
we'll buy a ticket for another movie and then go see this. Because I'd rather support a good movie that comes out that week than support this.
Yeah. Or we're going to probably find it on a website and watch it there.
Or there.
Honestly, I'm sorry, but that's probably what's going to happen.
What other movies are coming out that week? Go on IMDb real quick.
I will.
Just see what other movies.
Oh, the Neon Demon, I think. Hold on.
IMDb.
We also have
You're gonna pull up the schedule for stuff we're gonna talk about. Right there. There you go. There's more behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, we actually made a schedule for potential episodes, which is dope.
We done that before, but now we just kind of updated it to I think the rest of the year.
We did do the rest of the year. 7/15.
7/15.
It's a blank week.
But
So
maybe Ghostbusters.
Kek.
So just coming soon. Coming soon.
Right.
Click that. Click it.
Yes, I will.
So then you gotta skip all the way to June, July. There you go. Ready? There you go. Hold on. There you go.
So The Infiltrator and a movie called Phantom Boy.
So what's the one?
If anything, I kind of do want to see The Infiltrator.
Well, what's the one before that? A week before that, we got Secret Life of Pets and that one movie with Zac Efron. How about the week before that? The BFG.
And Legend of Tarzan.
There's not really much choice they're giving us here, but still.
Yeah, it looks like the summer's gonna be pretty weak.
Even the week before that, I mean after that.
Yeah, but like anyway, going back to our topic on this whole Ghostbusters situation, it's just the fact that this movie is just projected to be a resounding failure. It just baffles me that one, they haven't pulled it because of it's the most disliked trailer on YouTube of all time. And
is it the most disliked video of all time?
Not sure, but I don't really feel like googling it. But I'm not sure about that. But and the second one got an almost equal amount of dislikes. So that really says something about what the public wants to see. Yeah, it's gotten a massive amount of dislikes, but that should really tell the studio like we don't want this. Like we don't want to see this movie. But they're still going to release it anyway because one, it has to cover production costs, or else it's going to take a huge hit to whoever's producing this. And
isn't it Warner Brothers that's doing this?
I don't know. And it's kind of sad because Warner Brothers usually has produced very, very good movies. For instance, Mad Max Fury Road came out last year, and it won Warner Brothers 8 Oscars. So they usually produce very solid movies. But like when you see this coming out, it's like you have to make a decision here. It's like you're still going to release it because we can't lose money because people are still going to go see this regardless. If people are probably just going to go see this to see how bad it is, you know?
I think what might happen is if it's going to be in most theaters might actually just take it upon themselves just to remove it from their own theater. Because like that's kind of like what happened to our theater with Batman vs Superman. It was only out for like maybe a week or two, and then they took it out and they replaced it with some other movie.
The Jungle Book.
I think so, and like
and the Jungle Book is still playing over there. And, like, I just passed it today.
And I wanted to see that too, but like. Well, the thing that gets me the most about that is Batman v Superman spent less time since it released that week than a different movie that came out that exact week. You know what movie that was? My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2 spent more time at our movie theater than Batman v Superman did.
My mom saw it there a month after it came out.
Yeah.
So it was like, holy shit.
And like I just feel like Ghostbusters is gonna be the next like one to do that if it lasts a week, if that even.
Now, granted, Batman v Superman is a steaming pile of dog shit, but
people are projecting this movie to be
people are projecting to be that. It's like you have to make a decision here about what you're going to do because it's not gonna do well. It's gonna make the theater lose money. Actually, now that you think about it, the theaters are gonna lose money because they're gonna buy a print of it, and it's probably gonna cost them millions of dollars to buy a print of it. Or not even millions of dollars, probably like hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy a print of it, and then they're gonna play it and then remove it after a week, and then it's gonna rot in the friggin' stockpile it's gonna rot in the film stock. So there's no point. The theaters are gonna be losing money. The production company's gonna be losing money. The cast members and all the crew are gonna be losing money. It's a futile effort. So it's not like it's like you can't make a decision to not release it anymore. So it's like they're gonna see it.
I think not releasing it they can't do that already.
They can't. It's too late. It's way too late.
It's less than 2 months away from us.
Yeah.
And
they can't cancel the
production. If you poll that, that's gonna be like the interview when they pulled that.
Yeah, and that hit Sony hard.
Yeah.
That hit him. With
Granted, they released it.
And then they released it on Netflix.
Yeah, they released it on Netflix instead, and I think it made some amount. I don't know how much money it made from that.
No, what they did was they released it on like streaming platforms like Netflix, but they also released it on platforms where you could pay for it, like on iTunes and iTunes. And then they released it in like I think select theaters in like really big cities like New York, Chicago, LA, and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, I probably made its budget back because because comedies are usually very inexpensive to make. Like, I think the budget for it was like $12 million, but this one is like $157 million.
I mean, yeah, James Franco and
it's
Seth Rogen in it. I don't think it would be worth like $12 million for those two actors and then everything else.
Well, not for nothing, but they're usually the ones who make that movie themselves. They usually self-produce it, so it's going to be a little bit lower budget. You know what I mean? So that's like with Neighbors and stuff like that. Like Seth Rogen and his production company with like Evan Goldberg and all them, they all produce. They're all like friends and they all produce it together. So it's definitely going to be relatively lower budget. And it's not like you can tell that it's lower budget because they do film with like they like film in not like. It's kind of hard to explain because like they like when you look at Neighbors, they just like film in suburban neighborhoods. You know what I mean? They don't like build extravagant sets for this shit. You know what I mean? They like rent out a couple houses for a couple like months or something, and they film there. Like what they did with the first Neighbors. It like looks like a regular suburban neighborhood, which is why it's so like authentic and stuff like that. But for movies like this, where you're filming in studios, building extravagant sets, and using top-notch visual effects, or what should be top-notch visual effects, it's where did the money go? You know, like where did the money go into? Like obviously they have to pay the cast, crew, and whatever, and the directors and stuff like that, and they have to build the sets and everything. But like, it's you can't take it seriously. You know what I mean? It's like it's not a thing you can take seriously. And with this whole movie being released and stuff like that, it's just not gonna work. There's nothing about it that works, that made Ghostbusters so good back in 1984. And I want to bring up another point that AVGN was saying when I watched his video, was that they shouldn't be calling this movie Ghostbusters. They shouldn't. He said that he wanted to introduce a new term called like a name-a-make or something like that. A name-make, right? Yeah. And like he was
you're just gonna make this. You're gonna make a movie, but you're just gonna have it with the same name as another movie from back in the past.
Yeah.
So there's that.
And it's like I don't want to refer to this movie as the old Ghostbusters. I mean I don't want to refer to the 1984 movie as the old Ghostbusters. I want to refer to it as Ghostbusters because that's what it is. This one coming out, a lot of people, especially the younger generation, are going to be referring to this one as Ghostbusters. And then when you talk to a person of the older generation, they're going to be like, oh yeah, Ghostbusters, I love that movie. And he's like, and then they're going to be like, oh yeah, the one with like Kate McKinnon. No, I mean like the one with Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson, Dan Aykroyd, and Howard Ramis. And they're going to be like, who? And if there's going to be, and it divides generations.
And then old person's going to be like, listen, you piece of shit. That's a fucking quality movie. And you're sitting there watching that shit movie. And just like, yeah, it's like, I like Ghostbusters, which is the fact that like I have to call it something else now. It just pisses me off.
Yeah, I have to call it because I've been referring to Ghostbusters my whole life as Ghostbusters. Now I have to refer to it as the old Ghostbusters or the 1984 Ghostbusters.
Or the all-dude Ghostbusters.
Or the all-dude Ghostbusters, exactly. I've never referred to Ghostbusters as that until maybe like March or like February. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't understand. Like, because it completely tarnishes the name it completely tarnishes the franchise that was so popular.
I'm gonna say this.
What's that?
This movie this movie is ruining cinema, and it hasn't already come out yet.
I mean, essentially, it is.
How can you manage to make one? How long is this movie gonna be?
I don't know. Like,
scroll up. No, scroll up. It's gonna be right there.
Doesn't say.
No, just go to. I'm sorry, I just hit the mic.
Damn it! Stop hitting the mic.
Let's go to the ghost, but there it should be.
It doesn't say.
It doesn't say. All right, whatever.
The
point is, you're gonna make a movie.
Let's give or take 2 hours.
Yeah, it's gonna be about 2 hours long, and somehow that's gonna be ruining movies as a whole.
2 hours, and it takes 2 hours to completely tarnish the name of a beloved franchise, and it's ridiculous. I think.
It's actually speechless about how awful this movie will probably be, and how terrible like everyone's treating it, and like, what's up?
I'm just thinking about like this movie comes out, and it's like the best movie of the year.
Oh, it won't.
It's like it gets like a 90 on Metacritic and stuff like that. Like obviously it's not, but like. I'm just thinking about like how wrong everybody would be if like it did happen, and it just like there's like it breaks the internet. Like
I hope in a way, cause like I said, it kind of pisses us off that like this is how like it's being treated, and it's just pissing us off that we have to call this Ghostbusters something else now. We have to call all the Ghostbusters something else now as well.
Yeah.
If it's good, then like good for them. They pulled it off, and it probably will break the internet. Like, oh my god, this is actually not that bad a movie. But like, I think I've actually seen or read some stuff from people online. It's like, yeah, I worked with the movie, and like, yeah, I think it's gonna be that bad.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so there's that.
I can't wait.
I can't remember where I read it, but I just know that there were people that like
cannot wait.
That like somehow saw it or like were in the mix of it.
Yeah, they probably saw like a production cut of it. And
it's like, yeah,
it's bad. But see, like, I just want to talk about one more thing. Like that really irks me about this movie. It's not like this movie's a reboot, correct? Like, it's not a sequel. It's not anything.
Here's the way I look at that. I think reboots are restarting a franchise that hasn't been a thing for a while. For example, Blade Runner 2 will be a reboot of the original.
No, it's a sequel.
Yeah, I mean but it's gonna be a reboot.
Oh yeah, it's a reboot sequel. Yeah.
Because it's starting up it's starting from that one place it started before. Like, you reboot a computer, the computer's gonna be the exact same thing. You're just starting it over.
Yeah.
But then you remake something. If you remake a computer, then it's gonna be completely different because it's gonna be like overall, it's gonna be.
Yeah, it's gonna have completely different new parts, but it's gonna try to retain the spirit of the original.
It's gonna be a computer, but it's just gonna be different because it's got different parts and it's just newer all around. This is gonna be fall into both categories as a remake reboot because it's gonna be Ghostbusters, but it's just gonna be with a whole female cast who are all more or less famous now, and it's gonna jumpstart the franchise again. And that's
I'm gonna make a comparison here. Here's my take on this. I'm gonna compare Ghostbusters to the newest Star Wars. All right.
This Ghostbusters or
this Ghostbusters?
Okay.
The new Ghostbusters to Star Wars, not the original Star Wars, the newest Star Wars.
Star Wars
Force Awakens. Force Awakens. In my eyes, The Force Awakens is a perfect reboot movie. It is not a perfect movie. It has its flaws, and I acknowledge that. You know me. I am a huge Star Wars fan, and it'll take a lot for me to admit that it has flaws. But it has flaws. I willfully respect that, and I acknowledge that. But this movie is a perfect reboot movie. One, because it successfully reboots a franchise that's been dead in the water for 10 years, that's been releasing half-assed content, and before that released 2 really shitty movies and 1 pretty solid movie. I'm referencing the prequels, obviously. But after that, it's released half-assed content in the form of TV shows, video games that have not been all that great. The TV show Star Wars Rebels is really good. Star Wars The Clone Wars got off to a rocky start, but then improved along the way. But video games, products, all about these have been half-assed, not good, whatever, forgettable. But now, with this reboot of Star Wars, it successfully reboots the franchise because, one, it's critically acclaimed. It's one of the highest-grossing movies of all time. It's in the top 5 highest-grossing movies of all time. There's been a lot of... all right, forget video games and everything. Let me start over. I'm sorry. Okay, so it reboots the franchise in this way that's perfect. Because, one, it introduces all of these new characters, Rey, Finn, and Poe, as the new Luke, Leia, and Han. And it has the old cast members, and they pass the torch to these new characters. These old characters in the movie serve their purpose. Han Solo serves his purpose. Leia serves her purpose. Luke serves his purpose. And they're obviously going to be back in the 8th one. Except for Han Solo, obviously. Spoilers. But these characters all serve their purpose. They're in the movie, and they metaphorically pass this torch down to this newer generation who are going to be spending a lot of our time with. They're going to be in 2 more movies. So they're going to be obviously spending a lot... We're going to be obviously spending a lot more time with them. And it's perfect because it successfully pays homage to the old like Star Wars movie, the original trilogy, while establishing a new fresh characters and universe. Whereas with this movie, it's a remake. It has none of the original cast members except for maybe cameos. And we're like, I think I read Dan Aykroyd's like a taxi driver in this. Like, what? So instead of...
That already doesn't make any sense. The fact that the cameos of the original Ghostbusters aren't going to be them as Ghostbusters.
Yes, it's so stupid.
I think that if they were mentors passing the torch...
Exactly.
Then it'd be better than that.
That's how you make a good reboot. you have the old characters sort of act as like a mentor figure, or they are at the last days of their job, where it would have been perfect for this Ghostbusters. The Ghostbusters are getting old. Like, Dan Aykroyd's in his late 60s, Bill Murray's in his mid 60s, Ernie Hudson, who the hell knows where Ernie Hudson is, and Howard Amos is dead. Like, it would have been perfect. They're getting old. I could imagine this already, like a new script. Like, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Ernie Hudson, they're getting old. They don't want to do this anymore. They just lost their good friend Harold Ramis, and they're all like, they're done. They don't want this anymore. So instead of quitting the Ghostbusters altogether, they take Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, Leslie Jones, and Melissa McCarthy under their wings, train them, and have them get ready for Ghostbusters. And don't spend the entire movie training them. Don't make this like an origin story. Train them for a good, maybe like one third of the movie, then have them go and bust ghosts, do what they're good at. It would have been a marginally better movie than remaking the entire franchise, rebooting the entire franchise, and having them as these characters that seem extremely unlikable and pay no homage to the original movies.
100% agree with you. The one thing I just remembered was, wasn't there supposed to be like a Channing Tatum Ghostbusters movie?
There was supposed to be an all dudes Ghostbusters with Channing Tatum, I think, right? Yeah.
Whatever happened to that?
I don't know. I think it's in like the back burner because this movie's happening.
I would rather see that than this. And like, I'm not a big fan of Channing Tatum either.
I don't know about that because we haven't seen anything about it. You know what I mean? We haven't seen any footage, no screenshot, nothing about it. We know nothing about it. So I would reserve my judgment for that right now. Because
but that's the thing, though. Like, just the fact that, you know, there's supposed to be like another all-dude Channing, another all-dude Ghostbusters, and somehow that, I think, is going to be more welcome than this one. And we haven't. And there's like, all I know is that Channing Tatum has some kind of involvement in it.
Yeah, I think he's starring in it.
So from what I know, that's all I know about it. I actually haven't heard anything else from it, like you said.
Yeah, I think it's being put on the back burner because of this movie. But I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on how I feel this Ghostbusters reboot / remake should have happened. Pay homage to the original while passing on the torch to a new cast. You don't even have to include Bill Murray and all them in the next movie if they do make a sequel of it. Of my metaphorical movie, if they make a sequel of my metaphorical movie. You don't even have to include them in, because it would have concluded their stories right then and there. Like how in The Force Awakens they concluded Han's story. They're going to probably conclude Luke's story and Leia's story. So, and then pass the torch on to this newer generation. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like, instead of completely just disregarding everything that happened, and I'm happy that the new reboot of Star Wars was a sequel. I'm happy that it was a sequel because you can't remake the first Star Wars. You can never catch the spirit and the awe of what people in 1977 saw for the first time ever. Everything about that movie back when it came out in 77 was revolutionary.
Also, it wasn't actually in space.
What?
If it were actually in space, then I would think it would be. I think you got the thing that catches everyone's like awe, like the people in 1977.
Well, yeah, the fact that it was in space definitely played a part with it.
No, but actually in space.
Oh yeah, if they filmed it in space.
Yeah,
sure.
And made a Star Wars movie out of that. And
sure.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, yeah.
Granted,
that's millennia down the line right now because we're never going to see that in our lifetime. But you could never recapture that awe and that glory that the first Star Wars that had, and like you can't capture the same spirit with this movie if you don't already pay homage to it or even try to recapture the spirit of it. Instead, you have these really lackluster jokes, or from what I've seen in the trailers, very lackluster jokes that made the first one, the original Ghostbusters, so good. It just doesn't work.
Will this kill remakes?
It will not kill remakes. This will not kill remakes. This will make studios more cautious about what to remake, I think. Hopefully it does. Hopefully it makes studios more cautious about what to remake instead of actually killing remakes. Because we're going to see remakes. We're going to see remakes till the world gets erupted into nuclear fire. All right? We're going to be seeing remakes till the end of film itself. Because remakes make money. That's the main reason they do them. Because they make money. They're safe. Hollywood is a very risk-oriented business. It's all about making the thing that will make you the most money, which is why we're getting a Ghost in the Shell adaptation. We're getting a Full Metal Alchemist adaptation.
I saw that.
We're getting that. We're getting a remake of The Untouchables, which should never happen.
Is that the one with Samuel L. Jackson in the wheelchair?
No.
What's
that was the one from the 80s.
What's that
with Robert De Niro. It was a mobster movie.
Oh. What's all this like?
It was a mobster movie with. Oh no! Never mind. This was not. This is Denis Villeneuve's film, I think. No, it's not. I lied. It's like an old dude in a wheelchair. It's like an old dude who, like, I forgot. I haven't seen this movie in
What's
so
the one with
long.
Samuel L. Jackson in the wheelchair?
Samuel L. Jackson
as like the villain. And like, there's a guy who's like, oh, whatever.
All right. Well, The Untouchables is like this dude who's paralyzed, and he gets like this black guy to help him, and then they become really good friends. But, there's no need for a remake of that. First off, because it was made in 2011, so it was made very recently. And just because it's a French film doesn't mean it needs to get remade.
Oh, it's a foreign film.
Yeah, it's a French film.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, we have to have an Americanized version of that.
Of course, because that's what they do. That's what they do. That's like with Old Boy. Yeah. One of the best South Korean movies ever made just got remade into Old Boy, and it was not good.
It was terrible.
At all. It wasn't terrible. I saw it. It wasn't terrible. It was just not good.
Is that like a 3 something on IMDb
It's
or
got
whatever?
like a 4. I don't know.
I think it's like a 3.2.
I don't know. I feel like it did 5.8. It paid homage to the original in some ways, but overall was not good. So, but anyway, back to my point about remakes and stuff, is that we're always going to see remakes because they're very low risk. They always generally tend to bring in a large amount of money, and a lot of people want to do these. A lot of people would love to do remakes and stuff like that. And we're never going to not see remakes anymore. We're never going to not see remakes, again, for these reasons. And as long as Hollywood exists, we're going to see remakes and less original productions and stuff like that, unless these large original productions are self-funded and distributed by a company in Hollywood, which is a really sad thing, because not many directors are doing original stories anymore. And all of these original stories are usually coming out within indie filmmakers and stuff like that, very DIY filmmakers and stuff like that. And it's a shame, because we're always going to see these movies, we're always going to see these adaptations and stuff like that. And Ghostbusters is no different. It just throws itself into the mold of things that do not need to be remade, because the original was such a timeless classic. And there you go. That's all I have to say about the situation.
Here's the thing about remakes: if it's critically acclaimed and like one of the best movies ever made, don't touch it.
Exactly. That's like if you're remaking The Godfather.
Yeah, you
can't remake The Godfather. It's literally impossible to remake The Godfather.
If you actually, I'm going to say this right now. If you think that remaking The Godfather was going to be a good idea, stop.
It's not a good idea at all. It's not good. Stop in your tracks. No.
If they actually make it, I will probably never watch a movie ever again.
I mean,
because
there's no point. There's no point.
I think at that point, then there's no originality at all. I mean, there already isn't, but like then they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, literally scraping the bottom of the barrel. Like there's absolutely no originality.
The fact that we're remaking movies that are already like they came out less than 10 years ago is actually unbelievable.
It's baffling.
Like we've had this is a third different Spider-Man movie.
I was just about to mention that. I was just about to mention how this is the third.
Then we had
Spider-Man movie.
this millennia, and it's just like it's only been like what 15, not even 15 years.
2002 was the first Spider-Man movie, I think.
So it's 14 years.
Yeah.
And we're getting what number of Batman movies is this going to be with Ben Affleck since 2000? Because the one with George Clooney,
4. Yeah.
Yep.
The first Batman of the 2000s came out in 2005. Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises.
How many Batman
v Superman. Oh, so 5.
So we got, just
5 Batman movies in 10 years or 15 years.
Well, considering that one is the greatest Batman of all time,
possibly the greatest superhero movie of all time.
Yeah. I mean, you're not gonna remake The Dark Knight.
No, God no. That's why comics are such a rich source of adapting into film, because there's so many different timelines. There's so many different comics that you can do. Like The Dark Knight was based on I think it was original actually. I think it was an original story. The Dark Knight.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was an original story. Obviously Batman's not. Obviously adapting Batman is not original.
Yeah.
But the story that Christopher Nolan wrote for it was original. But now we have The Killing Joke coming out in August. We had Batman v Superman, where they took from like Batman Year One. No, not Batman Year One. The Dark Knight and
Dark Knight Returns or whatever.
And Dark Knight Returns, like they based a lot of it off that.
The George Miller stuff.
Yeah, a lot of George Miller.
Is that his name?
No, George Miller is the director of Mad Max. Frank Miller.
Frank Miller, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone.
It's all good. But yeah, and like that's why comics are such a rich source. And like with Batman v Superman, they were pulling from like 45 different comics. They pulled from Flashpoint Paradox. They pulled from Dark Knight Returns. They pulled from friggin' Year One. No, not Year One. I don't know. We mentioned it in our Batman v Superman video, what the comics they pulled it from, but it's escaping me right now. But there's so many different things that superheroes can pull from, which makes them original. You can make a Batman movie about the Killing Joke, and you can make a Batman movie about the Dark Knight Returns, and they would be two completely different movies, because one is a very, very dark origin story about the Joker and Batman fighting the Joker, and one is just about Batman being Batman. Mm-hmm. So it's like two very different stories. But again, main point, remakes are going to be here forever. So
and this is just another fault in that.
It's just another fault.
Yeah.
All right, I think we've I think we went a little bit too long with this, but that's pretty much our general opinions on this whole Ghostbusters fiasco and remakes and reboots in general. If you stuck around this far with listening to our BS, then thank you, really appreciated. I'd really like to do more of these in the future, because like I really like talking about this stuff. So yeah, if there's ever another really controversial topic that comes along, we'll totally probably make it in the industry and discuss it. So yeah. Anyway,
that'll about do it.
Yeah. So I'm DeGe.
I'm Gabbs.
And thanks for watching, everybody.
See you later.